Hi, Dory Class here, and I'm talking about my 5 guiding principles, and this video is about guiding principle number 2. Keep the lines of communication open, no matter what, and get good at that. Now, that doesn't mean that you're having a conversation in the middle of an argument and you're sticking with it no matter what. If you need a break or a pause, or if the person you're engaged with does, then that's probably a good idea to do that. But what it does mean is no matter how intense, how difficult, how fierce, how argumentative the conversation is, that you're committed to staying in the relationship more than you're committed to the ideology or the perspective or the argument that you're taking a stand for. That the relationship, that's the first principle, right? Put relationships first, beginning with the one with yourself, source, and then other, that the relationship is more important than anything else. Now that begins with the relationship with yourself. So if you need to step away to take care of yourself, if you need to stabilize or ground, all of that's important too. It's part of the process of getting good at communicating and keeping the lines of communication open. I teach leadership development programs and advanced communication training and team building work, and some of these things that I talk about seem so kind of no duh, and they're not common practice. And so really important for us to start building these muscles again. It's more than active listening. It's a decision to be in relationship, and it's a decision to care about the relationship with yourself and the relationship with the other person, enough so that you're willing to be in the conversation and keep the lines of communication open. I love the metaphor of the oyster and the sand and the pearl. And inevitably, we have to expect, even in the best relationships we have, for there to be rupture, for there to be disagreement, for there to be conflict. And yet as a culture, we tend to want everything to just be easy and feel good, and God forbid there should be conflict or an argument. And it's hard, whether our style is more indirect or direct, it's hard to navigate those things, quite frankly, without training, and definitely hard without an intention to stay in relationship and keep the lines of communication open. And what I'd like to argue is that the sand, the friction, is necessary inside the oyster to create the pearl. So that friction that is part of our relationships, it's an essential, normal part of our relationships, is necessary to create the pearl, to create gold in our relationships, to build healthy, sustainable, high-functioning, satisfying, beautiful, loving relationships, whether that's in our home environment or also in the workplace. And we can create these. But to do that, we have to commit to keeping the lines of communication open and getting good, really good at communicating, at developing a conflict competency, at expecting relationship rupture and being committed to repair, at trusting ourselves in that process and trusting one another and knowing that we'll get good at this and get better at it. And when we do, what you'll notice, some of the gold or in the pot at the end of the rainbow is, there'll be less conflict. It'll happen less often. It'll last less long. You'll be able to self-generate, self-lead, self-correct in the process. Sooner or later, you'll be laughing and loving even more deeply, and life will be pretty good. I mean, we can stop wars with this if we actually gave a hoot about it. If we put relationships first, beginning with the relationship with ourselves, and we endeavor to keep the lines of communication open and get good at communicating, so much is possible then, so much. So that's my guiding principle number 2. Keep the lines of communication open and get good at communicating in all types of conversations.